The only thing you have to do for the rest of your life, if you're listening to this podcast, is figure out what the F you want, and then wake up every day and spend every second trying to move the needle in that direction. Because every decision we make, from eating a potato chip or eating the celery stick, is moving that needle one way or the other. The end. But the problem is, if you don't know what you want, you don't know where to move the needle, so you're not taking the necessary actions. You're just distracted. Most people are doom scrolling.
How do people figure out what they want?
It's one of the hardest things in the world. It's just a lot of just asking yourself powerful questions. And that's we specialize in starting there, because if you don't know what you want, how can I help you?
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs today in the studio, folks. As always, I got a real treat for you. My man, Nick Alfano, in the house.
Nice to be here with you, brother.
And if you could speak as closely to that microphone as you possibly can.
Like get after
and
it.
you can lower it too. Folks, if you guys don't know Nick Alfano, you're about to. There's a lot of people that know who he is, but he's almost like incognito behind the scenes. He's working with some of the, many entrepreneurs that are out in the world trying to get to the next level, but mentally can't seem to break through the ceilings. And we're going to get into that.
Yeah. So
they seek out Nick and the program. That's what you call it, the program.
Yeah, the program.
Now, just a little background. By the way, what's your Instagram handle?
The Nick Alfano.
The Nick Alfano, ALFANO. You can also catch his website, reprogram.ai. Reprogram.ai. So now they know where to find you. Let's talk about your past. Didn't you used to be a lawyer?
Yeah, I was a lawyer for not a ton of years. I was an entrepreneur first, and then I became a lawyer because I was paying these clowns to handle some litigation, and they weren't getting it done. So I put myself through like a night school, law school, and then took the bar and opened my own firm, and essentially became a lawyer just for my own business practices. But once you become a lawyer, all your buddies come out of the woodwork, and you end up doing real law stuff. So
yeah, everybody wants a lawyer in their
free legal,
corner.
baby. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like, I thought about being a lawyer once, mainly because it's just your time. Not that that's invaluable, because it's knowledge that they're really buying.
Yeah.
So when you pay a lawyer $3,000 to file a motion, it takes like 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But it's knowing how to file that motion that matters.
Yeah, it's all the work that you did prior to. It's like having a plumber come to your house and they charge you $500 to assess. Took them 15 minutes, and some people get frustrated. But you didn't pay him for the 15 minutes. You paid him for the 20 years he's been a plumber and how he can size up the situation, lickety split, right? So, yeah, you're paying for the 4 years that I went to school and all the other experience behind that.
So why didn't you stay a lawyer?
About 5 years ago, actually 5 years ago, as of 2 days ago, so I just hit a 5-year anniversary, I went to an event, and one gentleman said one sentence from one stage, and I created this concept called the truth agreement, and I started kind of reflecting on how lawyers roll. So I'll have a talk I do. I used to say all lawyers are liars, and then I offended some, which is okay. I think 99% of lawyers are liars. I think
99% of people are liars.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. But to be like objectively successful as an attorney, you have to lie. You're either covering the truth, manipulating the truth, bending something, not letting your client take the stand because he's going to say something which is probably truthful but is damaging. I look at lawyers, as I went through that journey, as like literally a salesman with a bar card. Like, you're a master storyteller, and whoever can tell the best story and convince those 12 people in the jury box that their story's cooler, you do well. But all too often, again, you're having to omit truth, bend truth, manipulate, fight. I mean, the best lawyers in the world, objectively, they're the masters of finding loopholes, right? And so I had this crazy moral epiphany 5 years ago, and I literally just burnt it to the ground. I went scorched earth on the whole law concept and walked away from my law firm.
Did you sell it, or?
It's kind of hard. I basically, obviously it's called goodwill, but it's hard to sell to another lawyer when you're halfway through some cases. So I did some contingency agreements on some cases that I was knee deep in. But for the most part, no. If I had active clients, I put them in good hands. And sometimes I didn't take a fee. Sometimes, depending on what was the work that was put in, because if you work on contingency, you don't get paid to the end.
But you shut it straight down.
Shut it down completely. Yeah.
5 years ago.
No, it took me about a year and a half to do that. Like, I was going on this crazy truth journey, and just kept looking at how I earn, and
what was the sentence that
the
changed
sentence,
you?
Yeah, I could tell you what it was and who it was. So it was Garrett J. White. It was WarriorCon 3. It was on December 12th, 2018. So as of this recording, about 5 years ago. And he said, in a world full of liars, the truth is a declaration of war. And it like spoke through me, like it put me through my seat. And I was an attorney at the time, and we had these like notebooks on our desk, like any mastermind. And I was like feverishly writing things, and I crafted an actual truth agreement, and I committed to never tell a lie ever again. So then as I started to look and analyze my life and my decisions, again, how I was earning most of my like income or wealth over the years, like I've made 7 figures passive doing some pretty cool stuff, built some big things, was from the law firm. But becoming a lawyer was because I was in debt collection for 10, 12 years. And collections, you can imagine, you think Wolf of Wall Street meets Boiler Room, meets like Glenn Ross, if you go that far back. So a lot of gray area, lack of integrity there. So I had 23 locations, 700 kids working for me, and making like 7 figures passively. And I literally just burnt it to the ground and walked away. So just anything that lacked integrity was not officially an option for me. And
just because Garrett said,
no, I mean, there's a lot to that. Like the backstory behind that is essentially I was estranged from my wife. I've been with my wife 24 years. I lost my virginity to my queen, and I was cheated on her for 17 years. And at the time, we were broken up for almost a year. I was in an apartment in Corona, California. I was probably 20 minutes away from her, so I was still there for all my kids' sports and, spelling bees and awards assemblies. Didn't skip a beat with the babies, but I was out doing my own thing. And I had just had sex with a random girl off of Instagram, thought I was the man. And most guys can relate to this if they've been down that road, whether it was infidelity or just one night stands, like that empty feeling when you're done having sex, like what, kind of like, I just felt horrible. And I looked in the mirror, I sent her on her way, and I looked in the mirror for like literally, it felt like 3 hours. I don't know how long it was, but I just had this crazy moment. I just absolutely hated the person looking back at me. And a buddy of mine who's a soccer dad, he said, "Hey, I'm going to this thing. I know what's going on with you and your wife. It's pretty obvious. You guys don't come to games together anymore. You're obviously like divide and conquered with the kids." And it's, he kind of like surmised that we were split up. We weren't divorced. And he said, "I'm going to this crazy thing in San Diego. It's pretty aggressive. It's actually too aggressive for me, but I think it's right up your alley." And he gave me like a guest pass or a scholarship or something. And it was like a 2.5, maybe 2 day event. And it was just the crazy, like at that time, 5 years ago, if you would have told me like I would meditate and journal every day, I'd probably punch you in the teeth. Like I thought that was some like woo-woo shit, but yeah, it just, I feel I was supposed to be there. I was supposed to hear that message. And yeah, to me, it is as powerful as one small hinge that's opened the giant door for me over the years, was that one sentence. So.
Well, that's led to obviously making a huge impact in a lot of dudes' lives.
Yeah.
So good thing it happened, but I'm trying to figure out like did you, because you were cheating and all the things you were doing was like sinking into your subconscious and making you realize that you're just a piece of shit?
Yeah, 100%.
And when Garrett said that, you're like, I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I've been lying. The declaration of war. Truth is a declaration of war in a world of chaos.
World full of liars. In a world full of liars, the truth is the declaration of war. And it just like hit me hard because I was on the other side at the time. I was I'm not compulsive or like pathological, but I was a fast talker, man. I've been a salesman my whole life. I got the gift of gab. I could do the lawyer thing, the debt collection, like whatever it was. I can hustle. I've always been a hustler.
So you say what you need to say to get what you need to get.
What I need to get. Yeah, I was that guy, and it was just like like manipulating more than anything, I think is the proper word.
Now, are you back with your wife?
Oh, 100%.
So you reconciled?
Yeah, like to a crazy level. One of the things we do now that's like probably one of our most powerful thing as a couple is walking men through infidelity, because our story gives men permission, like hope that like, because most guys, like if they've cheated, 17 years is pretty nuts, right? And I'll caveat that with, and this doesn't make it any better, but like I was a serial monogamist. Like I'm a pretty emotional dude, and so I didn't actually have a lot of one night stands. Most of these girls were like 6-7 months courtship almost, which actually makes it worse for your significant other, because I think you can relate to this. Now you
care about them.
Yeah, like a one night stand, like especially if there's alcohol or something involved, that's kind of like some Discovery Channel shit. Like you had this male moment and you did something stupid, but like when you're the other woman is essentially getting like the best of you, because it's like that new relationship. So you're courting her, you're doing all the cute shit. There's the pillow talk. It was like that. So it was actually harder for my wife to process, for what it's worth. But essentially, like our story now. Like there was a time most recently, so we were in Southern California for almost 30 years, and I moved to Nashville a year ahead of my wife with my son. He had a tryout with a professional soccer team at age 14, which is cool. He didn't make it, but my daughter was going into her senior year. He was going into his freshman year. He had the big tryout with Nashville SC. So I went to Nashville for a year without my wife. So that's how much work we've done, where I literally lived, 2,000 miles away for a year. And I saw her like maybe every 3 months. Yeah. And so like for us to get to that level, because there was a time when I couldn't even go, like, so imagine SoCal. I couldn't come here. I couldn't do a Vegas run with the boys ever without her, like, wondering and basically ruining that good time by calling me every 7 seconds, So it's been a crazy ride. Like I've walked enough men through this to be able to hold on to this sentence pretty firmly, that if you do this the right way and you own your shit, it actually will be a more powerful relationship, like a stronger relationship.
Now you got to be strong though, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Because like, let's say I cheated on my girl for 15, 16, 20 years or whatever you said, 17?
17.
Which is basically the whole time.
Sure.
You're cheating the whole time.
Now, here's what it was. I lost my virginity to her, so I told myself that story. How do I know she's the one? So there's probably like a 3 or 4 year run in the beginning where I was a good boy, and then like closer to the end, And so there's just a gap in there where I was just like.
Yeah, but my thought would be,
okay,
if you were cheating, more than likely she was too.
Yeah.
Was she?
No.
I mean, you were separated.
It sounds naive to say that, but like anybody who knows us and knows her would 120% like vehemently defend the fact that she did not ever step out.
So does she have the same beliefs as you?
As far as?
Never lying again?
Yeah.
So if we called her and said, did you ever cheat? She'd say yes or no if she did?
100%.
But she's going to say no because I'm sure you've already asked her.
Yeah, of course I asked her, but I think
that would be my concern as I'm running around, because you get that guilt, yeah. and you start to believe, like, there was times where like, shit, we didn't see each other for 3 months. Well, how do you know she wasn't out there getting busy?
Yeah, you don't.
And what if she did? If she told you she did, would you still be together?
I'd have to be.
Why?
Because I'm committed. I'm in.
I know, but like, things change when you learn things. Like she's a strong woman to realize that you were doing that long and she's still with you. She must really love you.
Yeah, she has no reason to be here. I'm lucky every day I wake up that she's still here. Like that's a fact. But
she must really love you to basically swallow that.
Yeah,
that's a hard pill to swallow. Mm-hmm. I was told, if my girl cheated on me, I wouldn't be with her.
Sure.
I mean, I can't be.
No, and it's not to say, a couple of things I'll run backwards real quick. When we were split up for like 6-7 months and I'm completely not even living at the house, like there's not a doubt in my mind. And we've had conversations, like I've seen her like date another guy. So I'm sure she's had, I know for a fact, actually, she's had sex with a couple of men during our 17 years of whatever.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah, but it wasn't cheating, because it's hard. How on earth can I ever hold her accountable to like, hey, put your life on pause while I go figure my shit out. And by the way, figure my shit out means I'm going to go bang a bunch of girls in a nice ass like apartment that I can afford because I'm making great money. And you know what I mean? Like I'm going to go play the game the way I want to play it, but you better not do a damn thing. It's just such a double standard. So.
I know, but that's but it wasn't.
There was zero cheating involved. I can tell you right now, I can count on one hand how many times she's dealing with somebody besides me.
Okay, so you're talking about the definition of cheating is different. That's what I was wondering. Is like all that time she didn't ever start to date.
No, this was like, because the pattern was simple. The pattern was, so here's the I never felt like the man inside of my 4 walls. But when I stepped out of my 4 walls, I was King Kong. You know what I mean? Like 7 figures, 250K cars, sports cars, the muscles, the tattoos. Like if there's a box to check, for like quote unquote successful via Instagram, like I checked it pretty damn hard. But also checked the douchebag box, right? But I could never figure out why I was the man outside of my 4 walls, but not inside. And the reality was I wasn't showing up the way I was supposed to inside my 4. So my story was, well, you're not going to give it to me, or you're not going to treat me like everyone else treats me. Like I want to be worshiped, and these other girls worship me because they don't know enough, right? So the pattern was I would go do my thing, and then we would get back together, and then I would be treated as though I was still cheating, right? Because we never fully processed it, and rightfully so for her, right? So we're back together, but she's going through my phone when I'm in the shower. She's, she went full blown, like cameras, like hidden in the couches, like you name it. Like she put voice recorders under my seat, and then they would last for 20 hours. Obviously, tech's getting better; they probably last forever now. Then she would pull them out every couple of days and spend the time to go through them. And then it could be as simple as a girl in my car, or me talking to a buddy about a girl that I had sex with. So you know what I mean? So
did you get busted that way?
Yeah, several times. But so then my story was I blew up like, I'm not going to live like this. Like either you forgive me and we move on or not. And so if I'm going to be treated like this, like I'm cheating, I might as well be doing my thing. That was my actual, that was our loop that we were stuck in for a long time.
Well, dude, I mean, it's fun to talk about, but
that's rough,
a lot of dudes have went through that.
Yeah. There's dudes listening right now that are going through it. And they think first of all, like you said, the word strong, the word strength comes up, like, that was I call it the conversation. I don't know how far I can go with this because I don't want to mention the gentleman, but I had a gentleman recently that I'm coaching that I gave him 48 hours he came to me and told me he had done some things. I said, cool, bro, you have 48 hours to go tell your wife. I can't coach you anymore because I can't coach someone that lies because I don't know how to help you. Because if we can't get to the meat of why you're really stuck, and business owners are stuck, nothing to do with business. They're stuck because of all kinds of shit, and this could be one of the big doors in their way. And I said, look, I'm heading up to Vegas to do this thing, right? And then I'm getting on a plane at 6 a.m. on Saturday. I'm flying back home. And if I don't hear from you, instead of doing that, I'm going to drive back down here and I'm going to park in your driveway. And I'm never going to tell your wife, it's not my place, but I'm going to sit in your effing driveway. And eventually your wife's going to say, why is Nick Alfano sitting in our driveway? I will do that, and I've done it for a few guys. So, anyway,
why is it so important that they tell?
I don't think you have any business building a life with somebody that you have a lie of that impact, if any lie with her, like stored.
See, I don't know. I mean, you're the guy that's making the impacts with all these men's lives, but in my mind, it's like what doesn't hurt you,
sure,
or what you don't know don't hurt you. So, like, let's say I found the program, and I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna straighten up for sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, I am. But do I really got to frickin' go tell somebody that I cheated? So now I got to go through that frickin' drama.
Yeah. Then I'm not the coach for you. Simple as. There's a lot of guys out there doing big things.
But that's all you tell them is, then I can't coach you.
Yeah.
But if they say, okay, I'm following what you tell me. All I got to do is tell my wife. What if she leaves me because of it?
She didn't leave. What did she leave you for?
Because I told her.
No. Why'd she leave you?
Because I'm a scumbag for cheating.
Cheated. So, because a lot of my guys are frightened to have this conversation, and I have to tell them, don't be married to the outcome because the outcome already happened. Time just hasn't caught up yet. You cheated. The minute you cheated, she has the opportunity to leave you. Has nothing to do with this conversation.
But sometimes you just keep your mouth shut.
Then my argument is you've never fully give yourself to that woman, and then you'll never receive full love from her.
So you're saying unless you divulge
everything.
Did you go to Alcoholics Anonymous or something?
Never.
Like, why do you believe that you have to divulge your whole damn life? Why can't you just say from this point forward? No. I believe it's possible.
If it was from this point forward and you weren't together, of course, like maybe you don't want to tell your wife every sexual encounter you ever had prior to, even dating her. If you were in
no, I'm talking about
committed relationship, no way.
Yeah, but like, let's say, I've been with my wife X amount of time and, I cheated a couple times and now it's like, you learned, you met Nick, you're like, dude, I got to get my life in order. I like this shit. I'm going to straighten up. But you tell me, you got to go tell her that 3 years ago, you banged some chick in Dallas.
I don't walk up to them and say you have to do it.
They shouldn't have told you in the first place.
That's when they have to do it. They nailed it. So that's the thing. I'm not ignorant to the fact that there's guys in my program that still have things they haven't told me fully. We're very good at getting guys like wide open pretty quickly. And the reality is this: the guys that don't win fully are the guys that don't open up fully. Like if you can't, I need to get in there and do the work that's really holding you back. And it's something as simple as like forgiving your dad.
Or it might be that you cheated.
That's what I'm saying.
Because again, ultimately, the subconscious is powerful, and that shit, even though it's subconscious, below awareness, you don't know that it's the reason you can't seem to win or get to the next level. Because, you brag to your buddies and it doesn't bother you consciously at all. Matter of fact, it's like a conquest.
Sure.
It's like, dude, what are you talking about, dude? And by the way, I always felt it's, to me, insecurity when a dude cheats. Yeah. Mainly, there's some exceptions, obviously, but mainly because they want to feel like they still got it. They want to feel like they're still wanted. Yeah. Like you said, outside, I'm the King Kong, and that's how they prove they're King Kong.
I can tell you right now, the last 4 or 5 girls that I did, step out of line with had nothing to do with anything other than proving alpha. Like, for example, if I was with a bunch of guys, we were doing business together or something, and there was a girl that kept coming around and everyone's talking about how they want to have sex with her, I'd sleep with her just because. It had nothing to do with the girl, which is horrible, right? It had everything to do with just like, again, proving that, hey guys, done. That was that bad. It was horrible, man.
And how'd you develop this program that fixes men and situations and relationships and businesses and all the shit that it has effect on?
Step one was do the work.
But did you go through it yourself first and then realize, hey, dude, this is something I can share?
Yeah. So crazy enough, like as much as Garrett White, impacted me with that one sentence, I didn't actually, I didn't do anything with Warrior. I've never done like an actual Warrior week or like a Warrior anything. Another gentleman stepped on stage named Nick Long, and his story related, just I felt like we were more relatable. And I was in Reno Valley at the time. He was a Chino Hills guy, so proximity was there. I think there's power in proximity. And so after he stepped on stage, I kind of like pushed my way through the 2,000 people there. And I was like, yo, I'm taking you to lunch. And he's like, who the heck are you? I was like, I'll buy you lunch and we'll have a conversation. And in that lunch, like he had me in tears by the time the appetizers came out. He just cut me open. And I, was just, like spilling everything that I'd ever done. And that's when I knew he was the one. And then we've been together, doing things together, building some businesses and doing just about everything together for about 5 years. And so all that to say, I think everybody, and this is just as true of any guest you've ever had here. Like if you're going to go speak from a place, you better have built something cool or done something or been through it, So even like as a caveat now, we're up to 7 coaches, and you can't be a coach on my stage unless you've been through some shit, because you're not gonna preach from an ivory tower.
I could be a coach then.
Yeah, because you've been through some shit.
Other than I got to go through and see if I agree with everything, because I have integrity in another way. In other words, I won't tell you that I'm going to do something if I don't, or if I don't plan on it. And I won't, like, if you said, hey, have you ever done this, this, and this? And I say no, when I know that I had, like, cause now, dude, that literally, people don't realize this, deteriorates your self-worth.
Yeah.
And your self-worth, I think, is partially why you can't win. So when people are out there and they're not able to win, I believe it's because their self-image is poor. And you'll never outperform your self-image.
No, 100%. I think your net worth is a direct reflection of your self-worth.
100%.
And so your ceiling is capped at how you feel about yourself. And once you put limited beliefs on yourself, you've limited your earning potential, your potential to do big things, to expand, to create. And so, yeah, that's a really big caveat for us. Is everyone comes to me, of course. The sad part about this whole game, and this is our marketing strategy, if you want to call it that, is to show them what they want, but then give them what they need. So we have to talk about money, bro, and cool shit, bro, and getting jacked, just to get them in the room. And once we get them in the room, I just finished an event, a 2.5 day event right before I drove up here. And I think we talked about money. It was a 2.5 day event in less than an hour. And all these guys will tell you they're going to go crush 24. And every single person will make more money. Our average ROI is 6.5x, meaning if you put 30 grand in my machine, I'll show you 250 back in 1 year. And that's not 250 top line revenue, because that's a vanity metric. 250 grand in your left pocket. Like, done.
I call that Hip National.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hip National Bank. Yeah. Everyone always says, dude, where do you bank?
I mean, like Fannie Pack National, bro. I've seen some
Well,
stats
I got several bank accounts, but my favorite bank is Hip National.
It's kind of like not a thing anymore. How many people do you know? I used to call it the WAD. When I was like in my hustler days, I had at least $5,000 cash on me at all times, just for opportunity's sake. You never know. Maybe emergency's sake as well, but you don't see that anymore. Like, who do you know that still carries cash on them? Between crypto and like obviously everything you could tap to pay, I
like to go get $1,000, and then when it's gone, go get $1,000.
Yeah.
And when it's gone, just so like $1,000.
Sure.
Because what usually, man, you're not buying anything more than $1,000, and if you are, you're either wiring the money or you're,
there's paperwork involved. There's a contract. Yeah.
You're using an Amex. So anyway, I'm walking myself through your journey. Mm-hmm. So, when you were a lawyer, were you married? You've been married a long time.
Yeah.
Does your wife go to go to these events, or is it all men? She goes to
every event. No, it's all men, but she runs the behind the scenes. I have an EA that's been with me for 12 years. Her name's Lucy, and then my wife, Lindsay. So those are the only 2 girls at the event, but we call them like the Almighty Oz. Like they have to stay behind a curtain because, you think you can understand this. Most men are not going to open up if there's female energy in the room. You know, we get these men, every man that ever do that comes in has got an ego and he's puffery and he's, oh, look at me and peacocking and this is my revenue, bro. I'm fucking awesome. And then we squash that real quick, like in the first hour. And then a lot of them still obviously have some friction against like being vulnerable because that's not a thing for dudes.
Sure.
So yeah, it's very important that we keep female energy out of the room.
Vulnerability is difficult for men.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching some of those videos of your event where like, you know, they're damn near bawling,
like snot crying.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself like, dude, see, I don't want to be in that position. Well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You know, you're not willing to do the work, the deep work.
The stuff that actually works, you know?
Well, that's what works. Cause man, when they're done, they're freaking out there winning. They're telling the truth. They're excited again.
Yeah.
They like their marriages again. They're passionate about their work again. Like, in other words, it's almost like being born again, but not in a religious sense.
We call it reprogramming. That's why it's called the program. Like my mission on this whole thing is to literally show men that you're likely running somebody else's program. And by that, I mean, again, objective success. Get the car, get the house, get the hot wife, get the kids, get the whatever, right? Like get all the things.
Which I got.
Because Instagram says get the thing. Yeah, but you're objectively successful, but I've hung out with you enough to know that the reason you're winning is pretty simple to me, is exactly what's on most of the time on your shirt. You're not wearing it today. You're real. That's rare. That's like this whole coaching game and what's happening right now and all the shitheads that are out here, like it's going to, the only people that are cutting through the white noise is I hate the word authenticity because it gets overused right now, but the real people. Like say some shit you want to say, and if people have a problem, fuck them. Fuck, you know what I mean? Like some people are being polarizing just to be polarizing because it gets clicks, you know? But what if you're just you, and if people have a problem with that, that's cool. And I don't have a problem with you having a problem with me. I'm not for you. Same message, different messenger. Hopefully there's someone out there doing something like this. And maybe, you know, I told you I had two guys leave my event this last 3 days because I say fuck too much. And they literally were like, hey, this was an awesome experience. But one guy said my ears were bleeding because you said the F word too much. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, it's not for you. It's not for everybody. That's okay. We get pretty aggressive. And every once in a while, maybe a little more often than every once in a while, we drop our own bombs, our F bombs.
Well, in 2024, I'm going to try to clean up the language just as a growth thing.
Sure.
Because I always tell people, dude, listen, if you're offended by the word fuck, you need to toughen up, first of all.
Yeah.
It's just a word. We're the ones that give it the meaning. It's nothing but a sound.
Yep.
And if someone left the program because you said fuck and they, you know, I can't handle that.
Yeah.
Dude, what does that say about a dude?
The way I sum it up, so I don't, because, you know, I call it the coach's paradox. My argument would be that gentleman needs me more than maybe some of the other guys in the room.
100%.
Right?
Like,
so,
dude, you're offended by a word.
Yeah, you need to hang out more, please, because that shows me that you really need some help in what we do. But I think that's part of what stifled our growth is my attachment to like what a borderline savior complex. Like I need everyone to win so bad. Like I will come to your house. Like,
well then quit cussing.
No.
Why?
I have watered it down and like toned it down here and there and tried it. I think over time, I think the character arc of like what I'm up to, I believe if you watch my footage, it's gotten less. But if I try to throw intentionality behind that, it definitely waters down the message. So and I'm sure you have too. I've lost speaking gigs because I say like, you know, oh, we were going to book you, but we watched your footage and you're a little too aggressive and you say fuck, and well, cool then. I don't.
So does Gary V. He still gets booked. So again.
Yeah.
Like the Rolexes. There's only one that's like big enough, but like I always thought, man, that's too small.
Yeah, it's probably a 46 millimeter. That's why I can't wear one. I have giant wrists.
These are 41s or 40s.
Yeah.
There's no 46 Rolex.
That's what I'm saying. I'm a 52 guy. I have 52 millimeter or bust.
Well,
I have giant wrists.
I like big ass watches. Always have.
Yeah.
And my wrists are not huge, but these look too small. I'm like, those look like a girl's watch. But then I just, you know, wore one for a week. And guess what? I put on my freaking Hublot, which is a big ass sucker.
Yeah. What do you have, the Big Bang?
I got a couple of them.
Yeah.
But I put it on and I'm like, dude, that looks big.
Yeah.
And now this looks good. And before, I wouldn't have thought that. So again, it's like sometimes you have to freaking give things a chance.
I've done it. Like I said, I have a crazy enough, a pretty big LDS following. So like I just did an event in St. George, Utah. It's all Mormons. And, you know, and that's why two of the, you know, 29 guys in that room left. But I've ran an event where I've tried to scale it back, and it kind of, I wouldn't say stifles my creativity, but it just doesn't land.
It doesn't feel right.
Or maybe because I just have that filter on the whole time, right, consciously, so it's just not allowing me to get into flow state. And if I'm not in flow, I'm not speaking real truth. I'm not coming from my man upstairs, because none of this is all coming through me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as long as it's a reason, because that's a good one. I can't get in flow state unless I'm purely
just raw me, and if raw me
saying it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, again, that's why I want to get a little more clean, because I'll bet you a lot more of my content gets shared if I weren't cussing and being so crass and juvenile all the time.
There's an argument there, because I think a lot of people love you for that,
Well, that's the danger, because when you change to appeal to the masses, then you lose the people that you were appealing to. But when you don't grow and evolve, you're also screwing yourself. So if I got to lose 1 million followers to get 50 million, I'll do that. Now, not because they're not worth it, but because, dude, my goal is to make an impact.
Yeah.
And I know your goal is impact over income.
That's the mission.
Like, you're doing it for literally to change lives.
This is the least amount of money I've ever made in my life, but I fly out of bed every day.
But I mean, a lot of people are doing it to make money.
Sure.
And that's all they care about. Did you pay your freaking, entrance fee? Okay, good. Come on in. If you didn't, oh, sorry, can't help you, bro. Yeah. You even let people come free now and again.
Yeah. If I feel they need it and they need to be in that room. And then, the caveat to that is not only are they coming for free, but they definitely can't afford to step through when the upsell happens. Right. So for me, there's guys out there that just need to be in that room and experience the 2.5 days. And I know they can't afford a $36K or a $75K ticket, so and they're taking a seat, because we won't go over 30. Like you can't, I like to say you can't automate intimacy. Obviously none of the event is automated, but it gets to a point where if I don't know everybody's name and their wife's name and their kids' ages and why they're there and what their pain point is prior to them showing up, it really dilutes the effectiveness of the event. So for that reason, we don't go over 30. So if I bring 2 guys in at $0, because I know they need to basically get reprogrammed. I call it a dick kick. Like if they need that reset, it's twofold, because we lost money on their seat, but we lost a potential upsell on their seat. But I could care less, man. Like I get a lot of flack from some of my mentors, and then obviously some of my staff, because we're not growing as fast as we should. Because it is a bit of a savior complex I've had lately, where I'm just trying to help as many human beings as possible, and it sometimes costs me a lot of money, but we'll figure it out.
Is that almost like a repentance?
Possibly. Yeah, I've been such a shithead. And, like if you were to calculate, if we go back to the debt collection days, like we never broke a criminal law, but we definitely were in the gray from a civil standpoint, The problem with that industry is it is cowboys and Indians, because it's not regulated. And so it's a cost benefit analysis. If I call you past 9 and I'm not supposed to, if I embarrass you at work because I serve you with some papers because you owe money and I didn't get approval from your HR department, they can, there's so many little rules that are, again, like a roll of the dice. So we were very much in the gray in this from a civil standpoint, and that's what ate at me and that made me shut it all down. So yeah, maybe no one's ever approached it that way, but yeah, it could be a 100% subconsciously I feel I owe a massive debt to society, so I'm going to help as many men win as possible.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of your slides. I had you talk to a group of mine. Like, you've got that down. Like, there's structured accountability. There's curriculum. There's freaking worksheets, PDFs, things online that you take that keep you accountable and keep you moving forward. You've got scientific evidence of brain waves literally changing, and how did you develop the whole thing?
I think everybody in the coaching space, at least, is just a product of the product, So if you've been to, I'm probably 500K deep in personal development, for 5 years. And so you just kind of go out there and you do the work on yourself, and then you kind of, I call it sift out the dirt and keep the gold. And so I've been able to, I have this really fun game I play where I take someone's whole entire program and I reduce it down to the top 5 books that they read in order to build that program. And I've been pretty good at it. And I think as I've done that, I kind of have realized in my vein and in the form that we're in with the program, it's essentially just a culmination of everything I've ever learned. And one of the big things I've noticed is, again, we only work with men, so this proves well for us, but it might not work everywhere. Men are such logical creatures that if you don't show them the science and the why it's working, they might not just trust the process, even though you try to force them to. So again, my pushback, my friction against personal development was the shit's all woo-woo. So I'm like, okay, Now that I personally experienced like anecdotal evidence, it worked for me. I lean into the woo-woo personally, but if I teach from a place of woo-woo, it's not as receptive. And so I always go like ape shit on the science part of it. I need to be able to show, like, again, Bruce Lipton's Biology of Belief. I need to be able to show if I meditate every day for 20 minutes that it makes a physical impact on me, science-based, and it's going to move the needle. And if you show me that, I'm all in on this meditation stuff. But if I never knew that and you just told me my chakras need to align, I don't know that I ever would have leaned into meditation, you know? Now, having practiced it for 4.5 years, I totally believe all the woo-woo stuff, likely more. But I approach it and I teach it from a place of both, but heavily, heavily science-backed and published data, double-blind studies, like you name it. Like I need to be able to show men how and why it works, or they don't lean in, not to the effect that I need them to.
You ever get dudes like to shave their head and do some radical change?
Yeah, we go. I mean, yeah, I don't want to shave their head, but everybody, we start pretty hard on the physical stuff because that's the quickest way to show change. So like the first 90 days in our program is very physically oriented. Because it does so many things for you. It's even from to your point of self-confidence, a self-belief. But it's the quickest way to see like tangible results. So, I mean, we've had some massive transformations, even though we're not like a fitness, I'm not a fitness coach.
So let's say there's a dude listening going, dude, this guy's talking to me, man. I'm in the same boat. Like what should they do? I know you can't do 2 days worth of work over a 1 hour podcast, but like, let's give them a little bit of love to where even if they never, ever, ever come to one of your events, they can take something and go apply it and freaking start seeing some wins on their own.
Hey, you want to spend an hour a week with me helping you become a business badass? Well, check out my group in the link below.
I think, one of the things I firmly believe is the quality of a man's life is directly related to the quality of questions he's willing to ask himself. And so what we've seen when we first get someone in the program is we hit them with some really powerful questions, because until you start to ask yourself the questions that really matter, nothing changes. And many people are so superficial and living in, again, someone else's program. They're not even asking themselves questions at all. So like we have an exercise called Man in the Mirror. We literally hold up a mirror and we take you through a pretty powerful sequence of questions. And most dudes crack open and start crying, believe it or not. But what it really does is it's a massive paradigm shift, like a perspective shift on how they're showing up and what they really want. So for me, it's step one is getting crystal clear on what you want, which is very difficult. No one's going to get that done in an hour. But there's a series of questions and prompts that we have to get you there. And then step two is what I call becoming the observer. So I would challenge any man, like my favorite F word, I'm actually starting a podcast in January, February called Feedback. Like I drop a lot of F words. So we've got faith, family, finance, the whole nine, right? We have all these Fs. We've got facts, focus, freedom, but feedback, I feel if you can process feedback from a place of facts, not feelings, again, more F words, when you learn to do that, like just take it in for what it is and not judge it from a place of emotion, you'll accelerate above and beyond anybody.
Well, that's kind of the equivalent to controlling your emotions. Yeah. Which is hard to do, especially when it comes to certain things.
Oh, 100%.
Like if my wife went into your wife's program, and this is a similar program for women, and she came home, she said, I've got to tell you, it's part of my program, and I love you so much, I want to fix everything. Yeah. But, I've been banging the neighbor for, 17 years. Like, dude, that's a big uphill battle now. Sure. And for a guy like me, you ain't fixing that. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what program you take. You ain't fixing that. But so how do you, like when you're coaching these guys and their wife isn't open to the same program because you're only teaching guys? Yeah. So how do you get the wives to buy in?
Well, the reality is the wives love it more than the men for quite a while. I get more voice notes and video notes from wives saying like, this is the dude that I married, because what happens is, here's a fun fact. Women have this uncanny ability. So when your wife married you and you stood across from the aisle, she didn't marry the dude across from the aisle. You know who she married? She married the potential version of you, right? Like, I'm not saying they're gold diggers, right? They don't know if you're going to win big, but they definitely see something in you that most men don't see in themselves, like often ever. And all they really want you to do for the rest of your life is try to step one step closer to that, even if you don't realize the full potential. But when you stop doing work and making, moving the needle, that's when the clock starts ticking towards separation or potentially infidelity, et cetera. So what happens here is our guys come home, especially like the guys that just returned home yesterday, we just wrapped. they're going to level up fast, man, like really fast. And so we actually do a lot of work with the men on how to like approach this with your wife, because step one, it's not their journey, it's yours. And a lot of guys will try to force their wives on this journey with them, and it's not the wife's journey. Maybe she doesn't want to do this. Maybe she doesn't want to meditate or get up early and go to the gym or eat clean or set crazy targets or speak only truth. And if you try to force her there, that can be a problem. But what happens most often, more than anything, is the guy starts loving up and the wife wants to come along, you know, and then she doesn't have the tools available. So right now, like, we've got some things available for specifically the spouses, but we have no intention of developing a women's program.
What would your advice be if I'm in your program and my wife is one of the ones that
does not want to?
Yeah. And I'm a little bit of a frickin' pussy or, you know, I'm weak. In other words,
well, you wouldn't be 2 months into my program.
If I'm weak?
A fact. Yeah, I can tell you right now, especially, I hate to say this about my LDS boys, but like that particular community, a lot of them are getting ran over by their wives. So that's a big thing that we work on out of the gate. And we don't teach from a place of like, dunk on your wife, bro, make her feel like shit, always be right. You know, we are very clear that on the chessboard, like on the chess game, where does the queen sit?
Next to the king?
Next, right? Not in front, not behind, not on top, not underneath. And then who's the most powerful piece on the chessboard?
The king.
No.
Yes.
Heck no.
Want to bet?
What can he do?
Doesn't
he can
matter.
go forward and back and side to side.
Want to wager?
Okay, here we go. Let's get the Bradley definition of this.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Can the game continue with no queen?
Yes.
Can the game continue with no king?
No. Yeah, game over.
King's the most important. Like,
Sure.
people need to wake up. The queen, everybody says the queen's the most important piece on a
Well, let's back up
chessboard.
and not call it the most important, but let's agree.
Well,
that
you said the most powerful.
Okay.
And I would agree.
Powerful.
She is the most powerful, but she's not the most important.
No, so we teach our guys, like, if you want to truly, like, we take these guys on a journey from entrepreneur to CEO to king. Like, to be a king, you have to show up as one. And most of these guys want all these things, but they don't know how to show up in their true power. Like, they don't know how to hold the right frame in their own, like, from a place of energy.
And or they'll do it wrong, meaning, you know, they'll start telling their wife, "No, screw you, I'm the king."
We call it dunking on your wife.
Yeah, and that ain't how you do it.
Yeah.
You know, I always tell my guys, it's not the horse, it's the jockey.
Yeah.
You know, because people come to me, I'm not a coach like you.
You just described my entire program in one sentence.
What?
Horse versus jockey.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, when guys come to me, they'll, you know, tell me their problems, and, you know, my wife does this, my wife does that, and she doesn't understand, and how do you get yours to do that? And it seems like, and all they're doing is making an assumption because I'm walking around with some confidence. And, you know, when I talk to my wife in front of them, they're like, "Dude, how did you do that?" And I'm like, "I told her I'm going to dinner with some fellas and I'll be right home afterwards." And she goes, "Yeah, but mine would have been bitching and crying." And, well, that's because, number one, I believe mine trusts me. Sure. Why does she trust me? And you guys say it differently, but because I show up for her. In other words, she can trust me. She knows she can. So again, if guys start putting in the work, believe it or not, their whole relationship can transform to where it gets back to the way it was. And especially if they have kids or a business or any success whatsoever, because, dude, divorce, everyone jokes about it, and it's cheap,
cheaper to keep her and all those corny lines.
Yeah, but I mean, again, to me, you got to figure out what you want real quick. And I'm wondering what you're going to think about this, but I would advise someone to try and stay in the marriage. Why? Because you committed to it and you decided to do it, but I wouldn't if the rest of their life is going to be miserable just so they keep their word.
100%.
Like, bullshit, dude. Get out of that relationship. Why? Because, dude, when you get out of the relationship, yes, it hurts all parties involved. But 2 years later, when you met the love of your life and like you're a better person because of them. And, you know, well, what about if they have kids? Your kids are happier in 2 happy homes than 1 miserable home. Right?
Yeah, the best version of dad makes the best dad, right?
But
the best version might not be with mom because you guys
Exact-
bring out the shit in each other.
That's what I say. And then people...
I don't coach anybody to separate, but I coach people to this degree. I tell men, quit trying to create the perfect spouse and let's get really clear on what the perfect marriage looks like for you, your version of a perfect marriage. And you craft that out with such detail. And then you present that with your wife and say, look, this is what, like, you create non-negotiables moving forward. Like, you treat people how to treat you.
Yeah.
So over time, the fact that some of the guys can't tell their wife, I'm going out to dinner with the boys, you know, without like cowering or asking or just talking like a little wiener.
Or they
right?
lie so they don't get nagged.
Exactly, right? All that to say is because they have created a scenario, a frame whereby they've treated her how to treat him, right? And so when you get crystal clear on what the marriage is supposed to look like, and then you have a powerful conversation, maybe multiple, with your spouse that says, this is what I want for the rest of my life. This is what I believe a marriage looks like. I would love your input, but more than anything, there's at least 3 on this list that are just non-negotiable for me. And I want you to be a part of this perfect marriage, right? And if not, like, again, we don't encourage divorce, but I will say this. We've definitely had some men get so clear and so powerful on like who they are, and they continue to show up in a way that they know they've done everything in their power to make that marriage work. And sometimes they realize that that woman's not for them, and the marriage should never have happened in the first place. Yes, and there might be kids involved, and that'll probably scare the shit out of some people listening to this. Like, I could lose, you know, the super religious folks are probably like, oh, never fuck with that guy, you know? But the reality is, to your point, why would you honor your word to be miserable for the rest of your life? Now, it's usually pretty evident that you're not doing what you need to do, and likely her too. We tell our guys, look, you got to at least get to the 20-yard line, but make no mistake, she needs to come out of the end zone and meet you somewhere. It's not all you, but it's a lot of you. And I can show you how to, like, you are a big part of the problem, but that also means you're a big part of the solution.
Well, that's what I'd say. I mean, I would have said it is all you. Why? Well, and again, I mean, just if you'd asked, is it all you? I would have said, yeah. Is it? But I can't. I mean, to me, I can't think of anything else. Only because if I just go work on me, make my decisions, decide what I decide, you know, and literally make me the best version of me, and she's technically not okay with that version, well, then that's not my problem.
Correct.
That's her problem, you know, and that's for her to work out. But if you really don't want to get divorced, right, and you think you might by doing this, well, then I would say I'll bet you anything that by the time you get through this and start leveling up, your wife changes the way she thinks and acts as well.
Sure.
Just automatically.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a minute. We never got along before. Now we actually talk and communicate, and she initiates sex, and she's nicer. Well, that's because, as you guys call it, I say you guys like coaches and mentors, you got him showing up for his family.
Show up different.
You got him showing up.
She'll start showing up different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's
she'll have no choice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So is that what happens?
Yeah, 100%. Here's the easiest way to describe this. Like, Way of the Superior Man has a really good like breakdown on masculine versus feminine energy. The problem that's happening in this country right now, because we have so many fucking weak men, is the woman wants you to show up in your full masculine, right? And she needs you to have some, like, this freaks some guys out sometimes. They're like, I don't have any feminine energy. What are you kidding me? Every man has some version of feminine energy, and it's necessary. This is maybe your vulnerability or your emotional side. All that to say, she is begging for you to show up in your masculine, and she wants to be swooned. She wants to be courted. However, especially when there's babies involved, if you bring babies into that house and you're not showing up the way you're supposed to, the woman will castrate that fucking household. She has no choice. She's mama bear now, and she's got cubs. So if you're not showing up and you're not providing or you're not doing certain things, like the guys will cry, I feel emasculated. My wife emasculates me. Show the fuck up, bro. Simple as, because she doesn't want to do that. Doesn't make your, they start to think like she gets off on it a little bit. Like, my wife enjoys embarrassing me in front of my friends and talking down to me and making me feel this big. No, she doesn't. She's waiting for you to rise. And if you don't rise and there's babies involved, I promise you, she's going to show up and be the man of the fucking house until you do. It's a default in them. So it happens a lot. I would love to go back to your horse and jockey, because there's a book I'm working on called Car and Driver, and that is the premise for the whole movement. Is essentially everybody out there that's in this coaching or mastermind game, they go to these masterminds, they're looking for the framework, the blueprint, the hack, you know, the script, the funnel, the whatever. But at the end of the day, that's the car, and they're not even the driver ready to make turn 2. So, like, it doesn't matter what mastermind you go to, and they might be selling absolute gold from stage, by the way. I'm not knocking some of the masterminds. What I'm saying is the 2,000 guys in the room, that paid the money to hear the thing, to get the framework, to take it back home to their business, the reason nothing changes is because the driver never changed. So the driver's not even ready to make turn 2. And if the driver can't make turn 2, then the car is for shit. And the easiest way to show this to anybody, the easiest example is if I put Jeff Bezos in one of my guys' businesses, or Elon Musk, right? If I put, what's Dallas Mavericks guy? Mark Cuban, right? If I just drop him in one of my entrepreneurs' companies overnight, and not their money, by the way, just their mindset, the way they show up, the way they operate, the way they command attention, etc., that business does what? Exponentially grows and quickly. And if I put one of my guys in Amazon overnight, the business takes a shit. It burns up. It's done.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's the businessman, not the business plan. It has nothing to do with the plan. Business is easy. You know this. You absolutely know this. Business is like 5 things: sales, ops, marketing, human resources, build the team, scale the shit if you want to scale it. Like every single thing that everybody could ever learn from me from a business standpoint is on fucking YouTube right now. Everything's there. Every single dude I coach knows what to do. They just can't get out of their own fucking way. Like we all know what to do, but we're not doing it. And then we can't figure out why we're not doing it. And this is where it gets hard, is because I know what to do and I'm not doing it. So something must be wrong with me. I don't deserve to be a millionaire. I'm not worthy of it. I have imposter syndrome. Whatever the fucking story is, it all comes down to your subconscious beliefs, which, oh, by the way, were programmed in you from age 0 to 7. Whether you believe it or not, every 7 years, the body produces a new set of cells. I'm 42 years old. I've had 6 copy and pastes of a fucked up program that my parents, who operated from scarcity, who were blue collar, who said, don't take on debt, right? Don't do all these risky things. How dare you? That was all instilled in me. I went to a Catholic school between 0 and 7. I started school at 4 or 5, like most kids, preschool K. Everything is like, that's your program. You're so impressionable. Like when you come out of the womb from 0 to 7, you're in a theta brainwave state. You know what hypnosis therapy, you know what hypnotists do from stage? They get you into theta. When you're in theta, you're so impressionable. When you learn how to master theta, you can absorb data at a rate that's insane. That's what I do for a living and help guys do. But the problem with theta is you're also highly impressionable. So from 0 to 7, every single part of your environment is writing your code, is writing your program. And then from 7 to 14, you go from theta to alpha. And in alpha, you're equally as impressionable, except now you have a little bit of free choice. Maybe now you're picking your friends on the schoolyard. We all know middle school is pretty cliquey, so you're kind of figuring out who you want to be or who you don't want to be around. Maybe you've got a coach. He's got some say in your programming, but that's why they call them the formative years. 0 to 7 and 7 to 14. From then on, that's pretty much who you are. It is very fucking difficult to change. When I get a 55, we had a couple 50-year-old plus guys at the event this week. It's harder to change them. It's the old adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like they're a lot tougher because they've had the cellular regeneration of a program that doesn't serve them. And so at their core, you can jump up and down and put fucking Post-its on your mirror and say, I am worthy, and do backflips. You're fighting a losing battle. That's your conscious mind fighting a 95% subconscious mind. This is why young kids, the reason like they can, if you know this, like you've got young ones, you could teach your kids. Is because we do subconscious, like imagine Andy Frisella meets Joe Dispenza. That's what I do. Garrett White meets Bruce Lipton, or you know what I mean? Like it's all the subconscious work with like the aggressive, you have to hit dudes over the head every 10 seconds for them to actually pay attention. That's a fact. And so we're very aggressive and we use a lot of Navy SEAL tactics and so on, but then we back it up with like the programming we do. I don't write your program, you write it. I just walk alongside you and give you the tools so you can finally build a life that you fucking want. And no one knows what they want. And the only thing you have to do for the rest of your life, if you're listening to this podcast, is figure out what the F you want and then wake up every day and spend every second trying to move the needle in that direction. Because every decision we make, from eating a potato chip or eating the celery stick, is moving that needle one way or the other. The end. But the problem is if you don't know what you want, you don't know where to move the needle, so you're not taking the necessary actions. You're just distracted. Most people are doom scrolling.
How do people figure out what they want?
It's one of the hardest things in the world. It's just a lot of just asking yourself powerful questions. And that's what we specialize in, starting there, because if you don't know what you want, how can I help you?
Well, not only that, but everyone's going to kind of say, I want to be rich.
Sure.
I want to have a beautiful marriage.
Yeah. I want to level up, bro.
I want to be a better dad to my kids.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want.
Cool. What does that look like?
Oh, you know.
Yeah, see, and I get that, and this is a 2-second conversation on a podcast. Don't get me wrong; they all say those canned paragraphs or canned sentences, the generic things, but we get them. it's a lot of deep work, and all of a sudden they realize. So for example, everyone that comes to me, and I can ask this question out of the gate: who wants to be a millionaire? Who wants to make 7 figures next year? Right? Everyone raises their hand, and then I ask why. And then probably 1 or 2 dudes in the crowd could tell me why, and it's usually a shit reason. And the question is why.
So do you help them change their reason? Do you help them figure out their reason?
I ask them what they really want, and then
So you
put
help
a
them
why
find
behind
their
that.
reason.
Yeah.
That's a powerful exercise right there. Because again, I tell people, you want something in life, man, you got to figure out what it is, then find someone who's done it, and then do what they did. And 9 times out of 10, you'll get what they got.
I will push back against that and say, find out someone who did it, then ask this question: who, not how.
Who what?
Who are they at their core? Like, who is Brad at his core that he was able to build the things he built and have the things he have? Not how did he do it? Because again, that's going to buy the car, not to ask yourself, who's the driver behind that car? Everything you've ever was down, and then you built the office out, but you didn't want to carry too much debt. So what you did was you created these KPIs where every time you hit this target, you splashed a little more cash into this room, and then you built the pocket. Like, great. And then we hand that to 1,000 dudes. Not one will execute. I will bet my life on it. Not one. And we gave him every single move that Brad Lee has done since the minute he became successful, or 20 years prior to, because they're not Brad Lee. So you have to ask yourself, who, not how. Who the fuck is Brad Lee? Success leaves clues. Like 90% of the people that people are like aspiring to be like, they do the same shit. Successful people just do consistently what the shitheads do occasionally at best. And it's the small habits compounded over time. And so people push back against that. So if I do a morning routine, Nick, I'll be fucking awesome. Maybe. I promise it'll change your discipline. And when you're disciplined, there's another talk we do called discipline dividend. Like this, everything I've seen so far, and this is the most gorgeous setup I've seen, is a dividend of Brad Lee's discipline. True or not true?
Well, I would agree with that.
And so most people are operating from a discipline deficit. And they're just crying because they don't have all the shit that Brad has. Meanwhile, they don't have Brad's discipline. That's just one of many characteristics. But if we were to
I don't think I have that stronger discipline.
And I'll beat you up for 8 hours after we hang up, because
I would say this is more my, I don't want to say luck, because I am lucky. I will say I am.
Bullshit.
I know, dude, I am a lucky son of a bitch. I'm just lucky. Period.
So you don't believe that? You don't believe?
No, I worked and I got up, but to me it wasn't work. And I can go back. Someone says, "Oh, you work your ass off." I'm like, I don't really work my ass off. I come in here, I have some phone calls, I shoot the shit, I talk to some people and make some deals.
Now, hold on. Now you do that. That's not how you start. You didn't live your whole life doing that.
Yeah, kind of. So it's like it's been easy for me. Is all I'm saying.
Define luck. Define luck in your words, real quick, so we can beat this up.
Define luck. Mm-hmm. When fortunate opportunities are prevalent, and fortunate opportunities. Now someone's like, well, it's luck when meets preparation. I understand, but at the end of the day, I can tell you the truth.
But let's go to the clinical definition that you want to beat up.
The truth is like, if I go back and start looking at the pivotal moments that people would consider success, when you hit your first million, I don't even remember when I hit my first million. Why? Because I wasn't even looking at it. And it didn't feel like I thought it would anyway.
It never
like,
does.
who cares? It's $1 million. Like, it's not mine. I got to fucking pay payroll, and I got to, do shit with it. Sure. And then it's like, okay, well, now when you got $1 million yourself, when you got $1 million yourself, you realize that $1 million doesn't really do much. And quite frankly, it's cash. You got to get rid of that invested. Now you don't have $1 million. You're back to freaking broke, but you own a building. Well, so what? Now they're paying you a couple $1,000s a month. Well, a couple $1,000s a month ain't rich. Okay, so guess what? Even with $1 million, you ain't rich. And then you start to learn these things. You start to realize, holy shit, you got to earn and invest tens of millions of dollars before you actually feel rich.
But where in any of that entire synopsis was luck?
And then when you realize that, you don't really want to be rich, Correct. Do you? You want to be wealthy.
Yep.
And now you need to take it to another level. Then it's you're never satisfied? No. I'm satisfied right now, bro. Like I am literally capable of saying, hey, I got enough. Well, why don't you then? Because, dude, I enjoy.
It's the game,
and that's where I was going.
Yeah.
I enjoy what I do, which is why I don't think it was hard, and I don't, remember the pain. I feel like shit, dude. It's been pretty easy. I'm pretty lucky. Like,
I mean, we can dissect it like crazy, but I think if you were to go back to the original, most commonly used definition of luck, when preparation meets opportunity, all of these opportunities that have fallen in your lap, and you want to use the word luck, if you weren't in a position to execute against those opportunities, then you wouldn't be lucky.
That's true.
Okay. And so your preparation podcast, right? And so there is a certain way that Bradley operates at his core, that if we put the framework that made Bradley win in front of 1,000 other people at the next mastermind, they don't do it. First of all, they'll self-sabotage in the first like 3 weeks.
Well, how do we get to where we can do that? Like, map my shit out to where now I can put 1,000 people in a room and they will
Let's
win.
prove it. Let's do it. I will literally dissect your top 60 biggest moves, right? We'll spend the time, we'll reverse engineer the whole game, and we will lay it out in front of, let's get 1,000 people, 25 to 45, pick your date range. Entrepreneurs, let's say they're already killing it, bro. Right? So we can even give them a little head start that says they've built some big shit. It won't happen.
Well, I don't want to waste my time.
I'm just saying,
I want to do that and make it happen.
Yeah, no. So again, and that's why I push back against a lot of these.
Your program works though.
Correct.
So what do I got to do with my program?
It has to be what I call the deep work. If you do not change at a subconscious level, nothing changes for you. So
well, again, I would want you to help me create a program where that happens.
yeah, that's what we're doing.
Because that's true. I believe in subconscious big time.
Yeah.
I think people subconsciously sabotage everything and they're not aware of it because it's subconscious. And then they develop what's called an ego or arrogance to where they walk around acting like they're confident, but they're really not confident.
Yeah.
They're arrogant and they have an ego to protect their actual insecurities because they're not even aware of them because it lives in the subconscious. So when someone calls me and says, hey, you want to go party? You say, hell yeah. Why? I don't want to miss out on all this shit, dude. I'm freaking cool. And when in reality, you know the answer is no. I don't want to party. Matter of fact, I wish I hadn't been partying this whole time. Yeah. I got to get to fucking work. Sorry, fellas. But, well, then they're not going to like me. Then they're not going to hang out. Then they're going to have fun without me. What is that? That's pussy shit, if you ask me.
Sure.
Dude, listen. The craziest thing, people always ask because, like, how come you're not out with this guy and that guy? And I can call freaking people pay to hang out with the people that are on my phone, and they're always wanting me to come hang out. And I'm like, nah. Someone will be like, dude, you said no? Like, why wouldn't you go out there? Because I got shit to do. Now, if that's discipline,
100%.
but it's not, to me, that's not discipline. That's like maybe focus.
Okay. What's the difference?
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you came in this morning. What did we do first?
We went straight to executing on a million things.
We did not. What did we do?
Well, first thing we do, because it's Brad's house, is we smoked a cigar.
Right. So again, like someone might sit back and be like, dude, how many of those do you do a day? I say 2 or 3, many as I can. Well, I don't know.
Sure.
But those take about an hour. Now, some people would say, dude, if you took that time and focused on building that program, or
what happened during that hour,
or building that business, right? How much farther ahead would I be? I would be a lot farther ahead. But see, I'm okay with it. That's what I mean by
sure.
I'm okay with it. Why? Because, dude, I'm happy. I'm happy.
Yep.
And just because I could be better, faster, stronger, richer, cooler, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm happy. But, well, then why you say you want it? Well, because I do want nicer, better, faster, stronger, and I want to make a bigger impact, and I know money allows it.
100%.
Like if I just said, hey, Nick, I like your program, bro. It's amazing what you're doing. Here's $50 million, bro. I want to bring it worldwide. I want thousands of people to call you, and I want to make 1,000 person impact a week. How much would that give you the ability to make a massive impact?
Yeah, it would change the whole game. It's like you said, I think this is where.
And you already have testimony after testimony after testimony after testimony.
I had 29 guys come up to me and I could show you every recording and everything that said this was the most powerful experience in my entire life. And they went from 25 to 55 years old.
And not cried. Many people know about the program until now, of course, because now this podcast has some listeners.
Yeah.
So you will be getting hit up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But my point is, that would be money that allowed that impact to happen.
Yeah, that's why it's important. I think a lot of people have a story against, like, a certain amount of wealth because they think it's, new levels, new devils. And if you have that much money, then you had to accumulate it by means that were maybe not, the most integral, et cetera.
See, I've never thought that.
No, you haven't. How many
heard.
people have? People associate bad things with that level of wealth because
it makes no sense.
No, it's their own insecurities that they're projecting,
But
mainly because they can't
that?
fucking do it.
I don't think that.
No, I will say this.
Like that guy makes $100 million. Who'd he screw? Like, why would you think you have to screw people to make hundreds of millions of dollars?
No, it's just how, again, that's their subconscious. The way they were raised is like, if you get to that amount of success, it's because you stepped on shoulders. It's because you did people wrong. It's because you know what I mean? Like, that's just their story that they've been attached to their whole life. And people would rather be right than actually experience something new.
So that's why I'm lucky, because I don't think that way.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky because, again, it's not like I knew not to think that way.
Sure.
Nobody said, Brad, you can't think that way, son. Think this way and your life will be better. I'm lucky because I just think that way. I'm abundant mindset. I am positive. I am optimistic.
Since you were a kid?
And most importantly, I am grateful. No, not always, but I mean, it's for most that I can remember.
Yeah.
At some point, I was out for me, up to about 30 years old. I was just out for me.
Yeah.
And when I look back, I think, dude, you're a little fucker.
Little shithead. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, dude, like I wasn't the guy I am today. Yeah. That's why people say people can't change. Bullshit.
Can you narrow in and figure out when your inflection point was? Like, I have my man in the mirror moment. I have my truth agreement. Do you have an idea of when that was? Like a moment where you're like,
it wasn't a moment.
Epiphany?
It wasn't a moment. Well, I guess it was when I realized it, but it wasn't a moment. I helped somebody that was broke make money. And I admired the dude and his family. They were just the nicest family ever. Almost like, man, I wish I had a family like that.
Sure.
Great dude, great wife, great kids, but poor and not proud and not happy. And well, why would you want that? I didn't say I wanted that. I said I helped that. And all of a sudden, the good dudes, because they were good, got a little money. I taught them how to make some money. And all of a sudden, I watched that family transform into a better family, confident, powerful, generous, and happy, really. And I thought to myself, dude, I didn't realize, I knew I could do that for people because I did it for a living. I pulled people out of Burger King and, got them making money.
Yeah.
Landscapers, any blue collar workers, I could show them, even if they didn't think I could grab them and show them how to make money and give them enough skill set to make decent money. Well, this kid, boom, took that money and started doing even things that I never would have done. And man, I'm like, Dad, that's freaking unbelievable. I want to do that for a living. So I quit my job and said, I'm going to go start a training company. And now looking back, I think that was the pivotal moment. Why? Well, now that I know what I know, because I spent some time with Zig Ziglar, who said, the best way to get what you want is to help others get what they want. Well, I didn't understand when he was saying it, but now looking back, that's the pivotal moment when I stopped trying to get rich for myself.
Yep. How do I help as many people as possible?
Yeah, let me help these people win. And as soon as I stopped worrying about me and started, I wasn't worrying about them and I wasn't worrying about me. But when I stopped thinking about me and I started thinking about others, boom. I mean, it wasn't that easy, but that's when it was.
You want to make $1 million, help 1 million people.
That's when
charge them $1,
shifted.
right? Add value to their life and charge them $1. Like I would argue that you saw something in that family from a core values, like you're in alignment with, you know what I mean? Like there's an energy there. Like I would argue anybody you pulled from Burger King or a landscaper, et cetera, that you've helped grow, it's because somehow they were in alignment with your assignment, right? And so you know this, I know you know this, but money doesn't fix shit. Like, the more money, more problems, we could go down that road, but money just makes you more of what you already are. And so the fact that you
amplifies,
you took a family that was already like, they checked a lot of boxes for you. That like, man, I wish I had that family, but the poor guy's not confident and they're destitute or they're not doing well. And you amplified everything for them. That's what money does. I think that's where people get it wrong, especially men. They're like, oh, when I make $1 million, then I'll take my wife on a date nights. When I make $1 million, I'll show up to my kids' soccer games and put the cell phone down, or I'll go back to the gym and get the body I always wanted. I just got to get my money right, bro. Fuck you. Get the other 3 houses in order. The money always comes. And that's why we put them in that order: faith, family, fitness, then finance.
Especially when you get all those other boxes in order.
Yeah.
How do these guys change their subconscious thinking, their subconscious mind?
So I'm a big brainwave frequencies guy. And so like we get you in a state, and it's twofold, because not only does it allow your subconscious to open up and it lets me get in and do the work that needs to be done. Because again, there's one major thing, sometimes two major things that are holding you back. And because it's your subconscious, you don't even realize it. And so you're constantly, in this perpetual loop. They call it the self-fulfilling prophecy. And your subconscious is running that loop. And all of a sudden you're like, I'll never get there because everyone else, like Brad used this framework and Brad won. I didn't do it, so I'm not good enough to make Brad money or be as cool as Brad. And they tell him that story.
That may be true, though.
Yeah, they're not as cool as you, 100%, right?
That may be a fact.
Yeah, we'll look that up too. But what it does is it perpetuates that cycle now, right? If the belief is I'm not as cool as Brad, and so the actions that I actually take subconsciously are not as cool as Brad's, so the result is I'm not as cool as Brad. I don't have Brad's things. And then that little gap between result and belief is the scariest gap, because it just perpetuates that loop. Because the results keep reinforcing the fact that you're never going to be Brad.
Yeah, but in reality, let's face it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of dudes that aren't.
Sure.
And they're not gonna be. Why? I don't know, but I guarantee you, dude, it is not possible. This is more me asking the question, because
sure.
I feel like this is the answer, but you probably got a different opinion. I don't think it's possible that you take some, insecure little dorky nerd and all of a sudden make him some kick-ass, confident stud that's just rocking it.
100%.
100% what?
I could do it.
How?
I'm going to prove it to you.
How?
Well, I don't want to label which one of my guys are insecure.
They were that way.
I have several that are unrecognizable, and 100% have stepped into a position of power where they walk different, they talk different, they're everything
but
about
they're still
them.
kind of nerdy, no?
There's some powerful nerds, my man. Like,
you just make nerds. You make them the coolest of the nerds.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So they maybe still have a ceiling, is your argument. Like they can hit the pinnacle of nerddom. You're saying that they can't become Brad Lee cool. Well, I mean, you have a swagger. There's definitely different versions of like awesome, right? But
I think you could be Brad Lee cool, but it just depends on who's the
where the starting point is. Sure.
Well, no, but I mean, like you look at these guys, like for example, I mean, I don't know who's considered hot now. I'm getting too old to where all the people that were considered hot now are fucking old.
Yeah.
So like, I'll use Brad Pitt, freaking,
George Clooney's the originals, right?
You take these people, and it's like, I'll never be as cool as Brad. Well, that's because, you again aren't, 6'1", and you're 5'5", and all this other shit. But someone else thinks they're cooler than me. Sure. Just like some people think Brad Pitt's cool, some people don't.
Yep.
Some people think George Clooney's better looking. Some people think that I forget his name, but he's on Grey's Anatomy.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so like that guy, he got sexiest man alive, and then the girls are all dreamy, McDreamy, whatever his name is. Dude, I look at these guys and I'm like, I don't get it. And then I've seen like Bradley Cooper. I don't think Bradley Cooper's like drop dead gorgeous or anything.
Sure.
How do girls think that? But they do.
No, like look at Ryan Gosling or whatever. I think he looks like a freaking weirdo.
Ryan Gosling. Yeah, that's another good example. But
obviously there's a lot more to it there,
or Ryan Reynolds, as an example.
Yeah.
So
girls love funny, dude. You know that.
Yeah, but a lot. Yes, I do. Yeah. But a lot of women would agree that Ryan Reynolds is good looking guy, right? Well, then this guy over here that everybody would agree he ain't Ryan Reynolds.
Sure.
He can't, in my mind. I don't think you can teach that guy to get cool like that, because some of it's inherent and some of it's given to you by the good Lord above.
So maybe cool is not the best barometer here for measuring this.
That's what I'm saying. Because like, dude, it's hard. It's hard. I know people that I think are nice guys, but they're just not cool by definition.
Sure. That's an objective standard. But
and by the way, I was trying to go in the opposite argument where they are that cool. They're just not that cool to some. Why? Because there's other people that might think their bug collection and their fascination with arachnids is the most amazing thing in the world, where they would go, he's way cooler than Brad.
Sure.
So in other words, there's an ass for every seat. And that's what people need to understand. And I think that's kind of what makes me perceived as cool. And I don't care, and I'm real. Why? Because I realize, dude, you can't make everyone happy.
Yeah.
So you got to pick someone to make happy, and I pick me.
Yeah.
And if more people said, screw the narrative where, you know, you're selfish if you pick you. You can't pick you. You gotta serve other people. Okay. Well, folks, the best way to serve other people is to make the best version of you possible. Yep. And the only way to do that is to work on yourself and put yourself in the front of the line when it comes of a matter of importance. Dude, I got to do this so my kids and my wife and my family and my business and my team, everybody thrives. Well, if I don't do what I'm talking about, dude, I'm actually putting them last.
Yeah.
So all the people that are like bleeding hearts, oh, my family, I'm doing it all for them. Well, then go look in the mirror and realize you need to put yourself first.
It's hard to pour from an empty cup.
Just like when they say lions eat first.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it ain't a lion, but there's some animal in the animal kingdom where, you know, they don't feed the fucking cubs. Okay. Yeah. They eat until they're full. Yeah. And then they go, now you guys get to eat. Yeah. And someone's like, you know, well, why would you do that? That's selfish. No, because if they don't eat and nourish themselves, they can't keep hunting and they can't keep getting the food to the children. Yeah. And then once you see it like that, you're like, damn, dude, that makes sense.
It's like the concept when, and I used to push back against this on airplanes when they say put on your mask first, like when this thing drops, you know what I mean? Like, oh, in case of emergency, the mask will drop and make sure you put yours on first before you even put it on your kids. Yeah. And most of us are like, no, you know, I'm a superhero. I'm saving at least 20 people. But then the reality is, how many people can you really save if you don't put your mask on, right? And so it's been an interesting journey because I was very much against, I determined self-help to be selfish for a long time. You know, if you only focus on you, you're a shithead. But you do have to continue to level up so that you can provide, especially again as the man of the house. Like it's your kingdom, and if the king doesn't rise, the kingdom dies. And
when is your next thing? Like, how would, if someone's sitting here going, dude, I want to learn more about Nick, go to reprogram.ai.
Yep.
You can find him at the Nick Alfano, Alfano on Instagram, and DM him. But you have more of these events and programs coming up.
Yeah, we're building out our 2024 calendar. Part of the reason I'm out here is we're going to do something in your own backyard. I'm thinking the 23rd and 24th of February, if not the 1st and 2nd of March. So we'll get clear on those dates before I leave here, and then we can make a nice announcement there. But
we'll get it locked down.
Yeah, but I want to do it here. I want to bring this to Vegas. So.
Yeah, and I'm not sure when this episode airs, so what I need the Bomb Squad to do is if you have any interest in leveling up, you know, coming to one of these things, maybe since it's in my backyard, I'll pop in and say hello.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not going to be
going through
doing
madness.
The work. No.
Here's what I'll tell you, and anybody listening, if you don't walk up to me at the end and tell me that this will be a top 5 core memory for the rest of your life. This will be a top 5 experience.
Well, dude, I've talked to people just again, I mean, for credibility, I've seen and talked to people that say, dude, it is like, in other words, all these gurus out there and all these mentorship programs and all these coaching programs, you know, they're fine information-wise, but none of them make the impact that this one has. And literally, I see like tears and people watching the videos of the breathwork day, and like, you know, everybody like almost changing before your eyes. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, that 10-minute highlight reel, you can actually watch people from the way they walk into my room to the way they walk out. I mean, it's
no.
There's definitely nothing like this in the marketplace. So.
Well, dude, I'm sure I'll have you back. I know you got to get rolling. Folks, as always, hey, thanks for coming in, by the way.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, keep helping the dudes.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're one of my female listeners, he doesn't necessarily work with women, but he will definitely work with your husband, which is technically benefiting you. So, nice Christmas gift. If it's already past Christmas when this drops, which it might be, then frickin' it's a New Year's gift. And if it's not, and if it's past New Year's, it's a Valentine's gift. Folks, let's change shit in 2024. I always say, let's go to war in 2024. Why? Because, dude, something's got to change. Something's got to change if you actually want. And not only that, man, time's a ticking. So anyway, appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate you, sir.
Folks, as always, until next time, keep it real. You know, hey, it's cornflakes. It's cornflakes. They're healthy. Folks, I don't believe that there's any cereal commercially sold that's healthy, okay? Period. Okay? Just so you know. So I don't care what kind of cereal you're eating. Is it a healthy decision that you're making? Yes or